Hey everyone, welcome back to Cooking with the Wook, episode 2. So we're making some ragu today. It's going to be a pasta sauce, sort of a meat-based tomato sauce. So we got some celery, some red pepper, yellow onion, garlic, a couple handfuls of mushrooms. We got some tomato sauce. We got some strained tomatoes, red wine, and some spices, which include black peppercorns and oregano. So what we're going to do is basically chop up a whole onion. Standard stuff here. Now, onto the celery. Now, we're going to use 3 ribs of celery. Basically, slice them lengthwise into 3 pieces and then dice those up. You can keep the onion and the celery in the same bowl, and that's important because when we crush up the garlic, we want to keep that separate. We can also remove the stems from the caps of the mushrooms, or you can leave them on if you like those. I personally do not. Just kind of dice them up. Rough dice is good. Want to have some texture. You don't want it to be a completely formless, sort of sauce. Mix it up. Red pepper. I'm going to chop this thing up. Now we only need about half of this or so. And we'll want to do the same thing as we've done to the other veggies in this segment. Just slice out that middle. In most chilies, in the middle, that's where the heat resides. Same is partially true for bell peppers, though to a lesser extent. Now that we've chopped up our vegetables and separated them off, as you can see here in the background, what we want to do is essentially to heat up some oil, some butter, and start frying up both the vegetables and the beef in separate pans. Now, I guess you could use only butter, or you could use, only olive oil if you wanted to. It's up to you. So, essentially, you want to add about 1.5 pounds of beef to one pan. Let that cook down until it's brown or so. At the same time, on lower heat, add the garlic and let that sort of just simmer around in there. Now it's been a few minutes, 2 or 3 or so, and as you can see, the garlic is beginning to brown slightly. Now that's the perfect time to add your celery and your onions. And you want to let that cook down, for a while. Till the onions are starting to get translucent. This could take 10, 15 minutes, really depending on your temperature at this point. So what we're going to need to do here is to add some oregano. Now you could use this normal, Safeway brand, generic variety of oregano. I personally like the Mexican oregano. I think it has a better flavor overall. So you want, sort of a level tablespoonful of that. Just kind of dump it right there in the beef. You want to add some black peppercorns. Now I've found through experience with this recipe that 5 to 10 is a good number. Alright, so we're at about the 15-minute mark. As you can see here, onions are really starting to caramelize up a little bit, past the translucent stage. That's what happens when you step away from the oven. It's probably something I should not have done. However, now it's time to add your mushrooms, your red peppers, and, at this point, a little salt. Now, the salt's good because it'll suck some of that moisture out of those mushrooms and let it cook down in the flavor. We got a little bit left of this smoked salt that I ordered off the internet a while back, so I'm going to throw some in there. Just because I feel like it. That's probably about a teaspoon or so. Alright, so it's been about 8 minutes or so since we added the mushrooms and the red peppers, and as you can kind of see, they're starting to get a little bit squishy. So that's what we want. We still want them to act a little bit like sponges, because the next part is wine. I purchased this today from Safeway, yeah. Surprisingly enough, it's actually from a local winery. Y'all should support your local businesses. So we're going to add about 1.5 cups of that Cabernet Sauvignon. Just kind of throw it right in there. You want to keep this at about a simmer. And just let it cook down so that all that wine is either evaporated or absorbed into the veggies here. Alright, so it's been about 20 minutes or so since we first added that wine. And it's mostly cooked off now. As you can see, everything's turned that, purplish, brownish wine color. It's so typical of a cab. So, now at this point, what we're going to do here is we're going to throw in some tomato sauce. That's a 15-ounce can. And some strained tomatoes. That was a 28-ounce box. So at this point, if you've done what I've done and turned up the heat because you're impatient and tired of standing around, turn it back down, let it simmer. It's gonna, want to cook down for a ways. Now, it's entirely possible that you may be watching this video and wondering, well, what about that hamburger? Well, we've got it here. If, you don't want to add it in for some sort of ethical or, dietary reason, hey, by all means, probably shouldn't have cooked it or bought it in the first place. But, that's on you, not on me. I'm throwing mine in there. And you really would just want to cook this down until, it's kind of reduced by half. You want to get rid of about half of that liquid. So it's been about half an hour here. And as you can see, the liquid's really beginning to reduce down. There's not a lot of the liquid part on top. At this point, if you're making solely pasta sauce and you don't have any other use for it, you'd want to pull it off the heat and let it cool off really entirely. Now that's going to probably take a couple hours. If you're making pizza sauce, which is what I intend to do with this, then just let it cook down. Probably at least another 15 minutes up to another half an hour or so. If you were to turn the heat down and just let it simmer, you could let it simmer for hours, as long as you stir it once every 10 minutes or so. Alright, so what we're looking at here is essentially a finished product. Well, for me. I'm going to pull this off the heat here, stir it up, and then just let it cool off. It's the Wook signing off. Episode number 2. Meat sauce, or ragu.